4:30 kickoff on Sunday. We could see the likes of Pedro Porro making his debut. But when you look at the head-to-head between the two clubs, is that the right head-to-head?
Yeah. If you include the cup final, yeah, it is.
Oh, right, okay. So we've lost three out of our last 5 games against them. Obviously, 4 of those have been away from home. So we've done really well against them at home, though, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think we've won, our last 3 games against them at home?
Yeah, and they haven't scored. I think ever since we moved to the stadium, we've played...
Have they not scored in the stadium?
No.
They did in the Champions League? No, they didn't. They missed that penalty, yeah.
They haven't scored. They've missed a couple penalties in the home games. And we've had... so we have a very good record at home. Last 3 games not at home we have lost. But we do have a very good record when it comes to playing them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But looking at that, it looks like out of our last 5 games against them, only one of them has been at home, which is very strange.
Yeah.
I think is that right? I think that is right, because the season under Mourinho, we played them. We lost 3-0 at the Etihad. We lost in the cup final. We then beat them first game of the season, beat them at the Etihad, and lost just a few weeks ago at the Etihad. So I think that is right, actually.
Yeah, it is right.
Yeah, the head-to-head.
Yeah.
We've played 1 game at home in our last 5 against City.
Yeah, it's mad to think about it. Obviously, there's cup games in there as well. But in our last few home games against them, we've won 1-0, won 2-0, won 2-0, and won 1-0. So we've won our last 4 games against Manchester City at home without conceding a goal. The prior game to that was a 1-0 loss against Manchester City at Wembley, I think it was, when Riyad Mahrez scored in the first 5 minutes or so. But our record against Man City is good. And what is it about Tottenham that always seem to get a good result against Man City, especially at home?
I think, first of all, definitely a bit of luck, especially under Mourinho. We had penalty misses and things like that. We've had a bit of luck going. I remember there was one game they missed a penalty, they then missed an open goal, and it was this flurry of chances, and then Zinchenko got sent off, and we ended up winning the game 2. I think it was Bergwijn's debut.
Zinchenko, yellow card.
Yeah, that was Bergwijn's debut. So we've had some luck against them. I remember the following season against the following 2 games, to be fair, we played pretty well. We won 2-0, and then under Nuno in his first game, we actually probably deserved that win as well. We played quite well, played and won 1-0. Haven't played at home against him since then, so we'll see how Conte does in a home game against Man City. And our record of this season against the top 6 is worrying, to say the least. So we'll see how that pans out. But I think I don't know. We just seem to have their number in the home games. They can't seem to score, so I'm not sure why we keep getting the rubber of the green when it comes to Man City at home. But I think definitely in previous years there's been a lot of luck. But we'll see how deep we are, if we do press high, if we do attack a bit more, or is it just going to be a job of defending really deep and hoping for a few transitions and counter attacks?
Let's get into the form. In terms of the form, it's interesting because Man City are second in the league, 5 points behind Arsenal. And there's a narrative that Man City not performing as well as maybe they should be, which I think is probably right. 3 wins and 2 losses in their last 5 games, exactly the same as Spurs. They've scored 9 and conceded 6, while we scored 7 and conceded 6. But what is it about Man City this season? They just don't seem as at it as maybe they should be, as what we've seen over the past couple of years.
I mean, they're still on course for, what are they on? How many points are they on? They're
45.
45 after 19 games.
Yeah.
Of course.
20 games, yeah.
20 games. Okay, so I guess there's been a tiny bit of a dip when you think about they usually get over 95 points. They're on course for about 90 points at the moment. So it's not like there's been a major dip. I think they just set such high standards that when maybe they have a bit of they don't win a few games, people say they had a massive drop-off, but I don't think there's been a big drop-off in my opinion. They've been a bit of a drop-off maybe, but maybe it's trying to just settle it. Haaland, I mean, it's hard to say settling inside when he has 25 goals, but there have been some games he's been anonymous, I guess. They obviously lost to Man United recently, and they drew at home to Everton. So they've had a couple of games, so maybe they've definitely been a bit off it. And as Pep said, when you've won 4 out of 5 league titles, the hunger sometimes can drop, and sometimes you take things for granted, you take wins for granted, and maybe that aggression is not in the side as much anymore as maybe it was when you're going for those first few league titles when you haven't won in a while. And you can definitely see that when Arsenal, that hunger's 100% there, and that's what Pep's saying. So I definitely think that is a big element to it. I just think it's that hunger that sometimes can missing when you're winning titles so easily. But look, if they've got that lack of hunger and still have 45 points after 20 games, if they can get it back, they're just going to be flying. So I'm not worried.
We need them to get it back. And
I'm not worried about City at all, to be honest.
When we played them away from home a couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of conversations about, do we even want Spurs to win this game with Arsenal 5 points clear? Is that still in your mind for this game? No,
I think we gave them the win now. We've already given them 3 points, so we need to take it back now. I think we need the 3 points in this game. I think we need that good feeling back at Spurs. We need a big result against a good team as well. We haven't had one yet this season. That's really hurt us. So I would say it's not in my. It was a bit in my mind last game, but we were 2-0 up. We had we played one the first half, then gave it away. But we can't afford to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the Man City predicted lineup for this game. If you can bring that up on screen. Stones out of this game. Foden's a doubt, but I think he will be available for the game. 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, whichever way you want to look at it. Ederson in goal. Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Ake, Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne, Grealish, Mahrez and Haaland. Let's talk about Rico Lewis, because Cancelo's gone now, which was much to the surprise of everyone on deadline day. Gone to Bayern Munich, already got an assist on his first game. And we heard it's because of the emergence of Rico Lewis. And I've been really impressed with what he's done. And it seems like he's very versatile, can play in a number of positions. How impressed have you been with Rico?
Yeah, he's been brilliant, I have to say. He's taken that like Cancelo role, like a duck to water, like that, a role where he comes in, plays in midfield. His build-up play is fantastic. I think Rico Lewis is super impressive for his young age. He's so mature as well. He's fairly strong in the challenge. He's still got obviously a lot of physical development to be done. Still young, still just 18 years of age. But there's a reason why they were happy. Man City were happy to let Cancelo go, and it's because this guy looks like he's the real deal moving forward, and also being a academy product, he has that maybe bit of bite and a bit of fight that Pep's looking for, and maybe Cancelo's lost it when he's not been in the team and stuff like that. So you've got to say Rico Lewis has been absolutely phenomenal.
It's mad to me because you're talking about one of the best players in European football in João Cancelo, literally. How amazing was he?
Yeah.
How amazing was he last season? Team of the year in the Premier League, one of the best performers in the league, and ever since he's joined Man City, he's been that. Something surely must have happened there. We heard there was maybe a rift with him and Pep, but that was all cold water was blown on that by both of the parties. Surely something had to have happened there.
Well, he wasn't playing in the World Cup as well, you know what I mean? Like, it's not clearly, I don't know if it's just a him and Pep thing. When the World Cup, he was not picked over Diego Dallo. I don't know whether he's had a drop in form or and maybe he's it hurt his ego to not be out the team for in place of Rico Lewis. Maybe he just felt like he needed a change of scenery. I don't know. I don't really know the situation, but it's an odd one, 100%, because he's been so effective in his build-up play, his chance creation. He's been brilliant. But when you're from Man City's point of view, they just have so much money. Like, if a player doesn't want to be there, there's just no point keeping them. You can replace them. You can do whatever you want. So when you're a club like Tottenham and stuff, when a player doesn't want to be there, it's a different situation because you can't necessarily just replace them so easily, like a Harry Kane or whatever. But for a team like Man City, who they can get anyone they want, players, there's probably a queue of players lining up to join them. They can spend how much they want as well. If a player doesn't want to be there, let him go. No point.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Bring up the ones to watch. Obviously, Erling Haaland, 25 goals, 3 assists. And Riyad Mahrez, who started to perform in this second half of the season. I mean, hardly got a look in first half, didn't he, Riyad? And he's showing his true colours now in his second half of the season. Completely tore Perisic a new one at the Etihad a couple of weeks ago. But Erling Haaland, man, 25 goals, 3 assists in 20 starts. I mean...
yeah.
We've never seen anything like that in the Premier League. And you're looking at Harry Kane right now with 16 16 goals or something. What's he got?
Yeah, 16
16
goals.
goals in what, 20, 23 starts or whatever it may be. Well, 21 starts. And no one's talking about Harry Kane just because of how good Erling Haaland has been. I mean, Harry Kane is on course for a 30-goal season.
And it's almost like just gone under the radar how impressive that is, because Haaland is on course like a 50-goal season, which is ridiculous, the number of goals. But also, in a way, it puts into context how ridiculous people like Ronaldo and Messi are, because they consistently were getting like 50 goals a season, and like it was just so normalised. And now like Haaland's getting that, and it's like, oh my God, he's a god. It's like, well, Messi and Ronaldo literally did that every year.
Not in the Premier League, though.
Not in the Premier League, but still, La Liga's still pretty good level.
It is a good level, but the Premier League is a level above, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've never seen anyone get those numbers in the Premier League.
No,
ever.
I think the record for a 38-game season is 33 goals, which was Mo Salah. So, I mean, he's 8 goals away from that. He's going to absolutely. He could probably in a couple of weeks' time obliterate if he really wanted to. It's crazy the amount of goals he's getting. He obviously it helps when he has the best chance creating team in the world behind him to feed him. He gets to be pretty like, how many goals of those have just been laid on a plate for him?
Oh, so many.
Like so many, just taps him in. But
that's what we were saying about Harry Kane, right? If he was going to join Man City, he would break all kind of records within the season.
Yeah, I think so. Would he got 25 in 20? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he would have.
I think he would have got like. I think those assist numbers would be higher, and I think the goal numbers would be slightly less, in my opinion.
I'm not sure. Imagine that De Bruyne Kane link up. Imagine that.
Would be unbelievable.
Imagine that. I think Harry Kane would get just as many goals as Erling Haaland, and
I think the reason I don't think he would is because Haaland is just so relentless with his physicality, just getting in those positions time and time again. Kane is just I think Kane, a younger Kane would. I don't think this Kane would. I think this Kane is a more refined player, and he's not all about just physically getting in those positions every single time. He's more about general link-up play, being an all-round player. I think he would probably be more effective than Haaland. Doesn't mean necessarily he would get as many goals, in my opinion.
It's mad, Haaland, because sometimes you're watching Man City and you don't even notice him, and then he scores a hat-trick. He hadn't had a touch for the whole first half, and suddenly you're just like bang, 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 and it's a hat-trick.
He can just explode at any time. His pace, his strength, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Always a threat. Even if he's out of the game, he's a threat. It's unbelievable how good he is.
Can't take your eye off him for a second.
But but
he's also a player that, how many goals has he really made for himself? I can't think of anywhere he's just picked up the ball and dribbled past a player and
I think there was one I remember. I can't remember who it was against, when he took it past the player and finished it in the back of the net. But it is few and far
between.
Vast
majority either being literally 2-on-1s where it's just squared across the face and it's a tap in, or crosses in the box, or through balls where he's run onto things. Very, very rarely does he pick up the ball with maybe his back to goal, turns and shoots or anything like that. So but when you can't argue with 25 goals in that amount of time. And Mahrez, last 6 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. He might be one of the form players in the league right now over the last 6 games. He's really turning on the style, he's always had the talent to do that. We know how good Mahrez is, and when he's in form, he is very difficult to stop, like we saw last week.
It's just crazy the amount of talent you can have in your squad, not even to consider him for the first half of the season.
Yeah, it's madness.
A bit smart though for someone of his age, not playing first half of the season and coming in and exploding second half of the season.
Yeah, why not?
Not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. That's what Man City can do with their talent. It's incredible.
Yeah, and all right, let's move on to the game on Sunday. Are we thinking Pedro Porro is going to get his debut?
No, I don't. I think as much as I think he'll probably get a run out, I think he'll probably come on as a sub. I do think we're going to go for Emerson. I think Emerson's had a couple of good games as well, so there's maybe respect for his form. He had also played well against Man City last time. Also, this kind of game suits Emerson a bit more than other games. So I do think Emerson keeps his place. I think, to be honest, the whole team, I think it's going to be a very similar team to what we played at the Etihad. Whether Perisic keeps his place or not is going to be the big one. But I think other than that, I can't see too many changes, and we're just going to hope for the less mistakes we made.
And obviously, the Sonny question as well comes up again, because when we went to the Etihad, obviously, it was a question mark whether he would play or not, because he's on terrible form and he's not showing anything like the Sonny that we know and love. The game against Preston, we saw him back at it, albeit it was against Preston. we have to persist with him in this game, but are you more confident now that he can affect the game in which we know he can?
I think I think I can't say that based off one game against Preston, where there was, he was much easier for him to find pockets of space. He was much easier for him to be facing the goal and turning.
But we know he's going to get space against Man City.
Yeah, no, I would start him in this game because when he's got 2 goals in this game, you're gonna hopefully back him to find form. But in terms of like a long term, the whole second half of the season, I'm confident now Sonny's back at it. I think for that point of view, it's too early to say. I would start him for this game, though, with the knowledge as well. We can have Danjuma off the bench, Richarlison off the bench. All of a sudden, if we do have options there now coming from the sideline. So you can be more confident that even if it's a tighter game or if we're in the lead, hopefully we can bring on players who can really affect things in the final third if the game is stretched. I felt like against Man City in the last game, like we just ran out of steam. We played really well for an hour, and then once the game went 3-2, we really ran out of steam and we couldn't really do much, and we didn't have much on the bench. I think Richarlison was just coming back from an injury. We didn't have much to change it. But now with Danjuma and Richarlison back there, we can really have a good go at them, even on the counter.
I felt a bit differently about that game. I felt like Man City just weren't at it for the first half. And yes, we played okay, we played well. But I felt like Man City just came out for the second half with a point to prove. They flicked a switch and then completely terrorised us, completely battered us.
I think they got it to 2-2, and then there was a stage in the game we were back in it. And then we obviously missed a chance.
There was that one chance we had with the Perisic.
It was a period. It was a good 5-10 minute period. We were back in the game, and then we missed a chance. Then it led to us missing the chance, and a minute later they scored. And then from then on, it just seemed like we ran out of steam and ideas.
But you're talking about in a 45-minute period, Spurs having 5 to 10 minutes.
Correct.
I mean, that's a battering to me.
I'm not saying we didn't get battered. I'm just saying that we had a period in the game where we were back in it, and we did run out of ideas, and we seemed to run out of energy. And maybe with Danjuma and Richarlison there, we could have players who can really affect the game coming off the bench, and that's what I'm hoping. Especially if we are in the lead. Hopefully we can have players who are very good in those transitions, like Danjuma, and maybe he can really help hurting Man City, unlike Sonny, who just at the moment didn't seem confident or just wasn't able to really hurt them in the transition up at the Etihad.
We need to get Son just hanging off that last shoulder on Sunday, and we need Kane to drop deep, affect the game, and really to keep sliding those balls into Heung-min Son time after time after time, because we'll get goals like that if we do that. And obviously Kulusevski will be in there helping out. But I think it's so important in this game for Kane to drop as deep as, and get in those half spaces and really affect the game like he did at the Etihad last season. We need that kind of performance on Sunday.
Yeah, but true, we do, but it's like you're saying Kane has to play 10 out of 10, basically.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's difficult to demand that, but that's what we're going to need if we're going to win.
I demand a 10 out of 10 from Harry Kane on this weekend. Even 9 out of 10 will be all right. I'll take 9 out of 10 as well.
He was literally at the Etihad a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was one of the best displays I've ever seen.
It was. But look, I'm talking about just him dropping deep, getting in those half spaces and really affecting the game and playing those balls into Heung-min Son. I mean, we see him do it time and time again, but I feel like maybe recently Sonny is the one a bit further deeper and Kane is the one a bit further forward. It needs to be the other way around for us to really get the best out of both players, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else
about the game on Sunday? I think we have a good chance. I think Man City, as much as they're always going to be Man City, I don't think they're as at it right now, although they did just win 3-0 against Wolves, and they won 1-0 against Arsenal in a game which, very even. So I'm confident we can actually get a result, not necessarily a win. I do think we can. Hopefully, there's a good feeling around the club, and also hopefully we're playing for Antonio Conte, who's coming back from his surgery. And actually, Stellini's been talking because the press is happening right now. He was asked about whether Conte will be able to be at the game, and he said we're not sure yet. We'll have to wait and see what the doctor says, but yeah, they're not sure whether Conte will be at the game yet. But hopefully. We know how to play against City. We do. We've done it enough times and got decent results where we know how we can really affect the game, and I think we can do it again on Sunday, especially in front of the home support. We usually get good results at home against City, so I'm confident we can get something, again, have a good positive performance, especially if Porro can come on and make his debut. I reckon that could also make an impact, but I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. I'm going to stick with mine from Predict the Prem. I'm going to say 2-1 to Spurs. Not really sure why. I've got a bit of a feeling about this weekend that we can take the 3 points, as we have done in the last 4 games at home against Manchester City. I feel like Sonny should be going into this with a bit more confidence after that performance and 2 goals and 2 worldies, to be honest, especially the first one. So, like I said, if he can hang off that last shoulder and Kane can drop a bit more deep in this game, I think we'll have a big chance to take all 3 points in this game. Man City will leave a lot of space in behind. We'll have Kulusevski as well. We just need our defence to hold strong. That's going to be what wins and loses us this game, in my opinion, if our defence can hold strong.
Stellini says that Porro is available.
Yeah,
for the game.
I've just seen that. Porro is available. They always talk about his performance against us. Like, that was the game that made them sign.
I thought he played really well, to be honest.
He did play really well. He did play really well. But look, that is our predictions. Now let's go on to BetMate. Obviously, a great game to play, fantasy game where you can win your share of £750 this weekend, which is a £5 entry. If you use our code WATT5, you can get a free £5 to play as well. But let's get into our team. So it's basically very similar rules to Fantasy Premier League, but you do get points for defensive actions as well, interceptions and tackles. So that's why I've picked this team. So let's go into my team first. I've gone for Hugo Lloris in goal because I do think both teams will score, but I think Lloris might make the more saves out of the 2 keepers. So I've gone for Lloris in goal. In my defence, I've gone for Rico Lewis and Pedro Porro. I think Lewis is such a high energy player. He's always full of tackles and interceptions. He can get high up the pitch as well and provide. So I've gone for Rico Lewis. I've gone for Pedro Porro on his debut. We know about debutants at Man City, so hopefully he can provide an attacking contribution if he does play, and I think he'll be at it with the interceptions as well. In the midfield, I've gone for Kevin De Bruyne as the captain and Rodrigo Bentancur alongside him, and then up front I've gone for Kane and Erling Haaland vice captain.
I have gone for something slightly different. I've gone for Ederson in goal, Emerson and Rico Lewis at the back. I think Emerson's the one going to start. De Bruyne and Kulusevski in midfield. I think Kulusevski had a great game out the Etihad. I'm backing him to do it again this time round. And up front, Haaland and Kane, with Kane captain, hoping to break the all-time goal scorers record in this game. So I've got him captain.
I'm kind of hoping he doesn't do it this weekend, just because I want to be there when he does do it. Big shame that we're not going to be there this weekend, as we have family commitments this weekend. But look, it is what it is. We won't be at the game, and you'll have Barry and Danny in the studio with you for the watch along. So tune in for that just before 4:30 on Sunday. But thank you for everyone for joining us for the match preview.